33 million people displaced in Pakistan. More than 1,100 killed in torrential rain and floods. As Pakistan's political leaders bicker, Pakistan Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa's desperate plea for help.
हमारे गांव में बहुत सैलाब आया, पानी बहुत आया, हमारे घर डूब चुके हैं, हमारे लोग हैं, माल और सादार हमारे सब मर चुके हैं, हमें कोई रिलीफ नहीं मिल रहा है हुकूमत की तरफ से.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi wishes Pakistan well. Is Pak seeking a border lifeline? Should India extend a helping hand or learn a lesson from the past? When Pakistan's military jihad complex picked the hand that helped Pakistan. That's our top debate on India First. Pakistan is sinking. The images of torrential rain and floods from Gilgit-Baltistan in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to Pakistan's Punjab province to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa to Sindh and Balochistan. These images are horrifying. That's a luxury hotel going down in Swat, indeed. Political leaders are fighting. Pakistan Army is desperate and Pakistan is seeking global help. India, incidentally, has helped Pakistan in the past. In 2010, 2 years after 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks with $25 million. But that didn't stop Pakistan from spreading terror in India. Should India help Pakistan now? I'm Gaurav Sawant. We debate, but as always, let's get started with the headlines. No Ganeshotsav at the Eidgah Maidan in Bengaluru tomorrow. Supreme Court orders status quo. Plea on ownership of the ground to be reheard in the Karnataka High Court. No detention, no arrest for rape accused Muruga Matsya. Locals protest against police inaction. The Mutt throws its weight behind the pontiff, calls rape charge a conspiracy. CBI checks bank lockers of Delhi's Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia in the Liquorgate controversy. Anna Hazare slams his former protege, says Arvind Kejriwal is drunk on power and arrogance. Suspense over the next Congress party president. Is Shashi Tharoor set to throw his hat in the party president's race? Stresses need for big organizational overhaul in the party to remain relevant.
In politics has been national and international so far. If one day other vistas open up, one doesn't want to say no. So that's all.
Another twist in the Sonali Fogart murder investigations. Family claims the TV star and leader's PA poisoned her to grab her property. Says the main accused, Sangwan, spiked Sonali's food 2 months ago too. Showdown over Ganeshotsav simmers in Karnataka's Dharwad. The Dharwad bench of the Karnataka High Court is all set to hear a plea challenging its earlier order that permitted Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations at the Eidgah Maidan in Hubli. And this comes after the Supreme Court order that said that there should be status quo, but that of course was in Bengaluru. The Supreme Court said no Ganesh festivities at the Eidgah grounds in Bengaluru tomorrow. Muslim parties are claiming that the Karnataka High Court order that permitted celebrations in Hubli will now be modified after the Supreme Court verdict or Supreme Court interim order in the Bengaluru Eidgah Maidan controversy. I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Nabila Jamal for more on the story. So Nabila, this case we are told is likely to be heard anytime now, 10 p.m. at night. Tell us, what's the plea and what's likely to happen?
Right. Gaurav, as we speak, at this moment, the matter has been filed in the High Court. Karnataka High Court is taking up a petition filed by the Muslim side, Anjuman-e-Islam. Basically, right after information came in from the Supreme Court, asking the Karnataka government to hold on to the Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations at the Eidgah Maidan, declaring status quo. Anjuman-e-Islam has now appealed to the High Court in Karnataka, saying that Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations should not happen even in the Hubli Eidgah Maidan, considering that the Supreme Court's reference point for Bengaluru's Eidgah Maidan has entirely changed the dynamics of the situation. And looking at what the Supreme Court said with regards to the Eidgah Maidan in Chamrajpet, Bengaluru, asking for status quo, Anjuman-e-Islam now petitioning at the Karnataka High Court, saying that even in Hubli Eidgah Maidan, same status quo must be maintained. Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations should not be allowed, and this development comes right after the afternoon Supreme Court order asking for status quo at the Bengaluru Maidan. Remember, Gaurav, we are looking at high security deployed at both the Eidgah Maidans in Bengaluru as well in Hubli. Hubli, already the district administration had made large-scale preparations at the Eidgah Maidan for 3-day festivities of Ganesh Chaturthi. Okay. And now it appears a late-night hearing in the Karnataka High Court would really put an end to whether or not Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations will be celebrated tomorrow post the Supreme Court's order.
Keep tracking that story, Nabila. I will come back to you for more. For the moment, many thanks. Our top story, the situation in Pakistan, extremely desperate. 33 million people impacted by the floods and the torrential rain. More than 1,100 people feared killed, and many, sadly, still unaccounted for. Roads, bridges, homes and crops have been destroyed. Pakistan needs both food and potable water. Pakistan's army chief, General Qamar Javed Bajwa, has made a very desperate appeal for help. Pakistan is exploring the idea of opening the border with India to seek food, vegetables and other edible items. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed his condolences for lives lost in Pakistan and he's wished the country well. The question is, should India extend financial and material help? We bring you this report. A massive luxury resort collapses and is swept away in flash floods in the upper D region in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Pakistan's KPK is badly impacted by the flash floods and the torrential rains that have swept across the country. From Gilgit-Baltistan in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to Balochistan through the southern Punjab province, more than 1/3 of Pakistan is now submerged in water. The torrential rain and flash floods have swept away homes and offices, roads and rail lines, and thousands of acres of crop now lie submerged in water. According to the Pakistan government, more than 1,100 people have lost their lives so far and over 33 million people have been displaced internally.
सब कोई तबाही हो गया, गिर गए हैं सब सारे मालियात, सामान, मिसाल दे बक्से हैं, पेटी है, कपड़े हैं, कोई चीज़ भी नहीं बची। किसी को हमदर्दी भी नहीं आई, हमसे पूछेगा इधर से कोई गवर्नमेंट का बंदा भी नहीं आया। उसने ये भी नहीं पूछा आपके बच्चे बचे हैं या आपके गंदम बची है या आपका माल जानवर बचा है। हर चीज तबाह हो गया है।
So bad is the situation that Pakistan's all-powerful army chief with top military commanders appealed to overseas Pakistanis and to friendly countries to donate money, food and other relief material to help rehabilitate Pakistan.
Friendly countries will also come forward to help Pakistan in this hour of need. And I also appeal on behalf of Government of Pakistan, on behalf of people of Pakistan, to our expats and our friends abroad to please come forward and help these people who are in very, very difficult situations.
Pakistan's armed forces helicopters are working virtually from dawn to dusk to rescue people and provide relief to those impacted by the floods. Pakistan's Finance Minister Miftah Ismail has spoken of taking help from India given the acute shortage of food, vegetables and other edible items in Pakistan. He was quoted by Radio Pakistan saying Pakistan was considering importing vegetables and other edible items from India. Flash floods have washed away roads and bridges across the country, and several parts of Pakistan are now without both potable water and electricity. In India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to social media platform Twitter to say, "Saddened to see the devastation caused by floods in Pakistan. We extend our heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims, the injured and all those affected by the natural calamity and hope for an early restoration of normalcy." Pakistan's political leadership, including Imran Khan, may be engaged in a bitter battle for political supremacy, but the forces in Pakistan are reaching out both domestically and internationally, seeking help as a third of the country is now underwater. Bureau Report, India Today. Several commentators in Pakistan are saying that the current situation in 2022 is much worse than the situation both in 2005 and in 2010. Pakistan desperately needs help. And given the trickle that's coming in from China, the writing clearly is on the wall. What should India do? Joining me on India First is Sudhindra Kulkarni, an author, a writer, a commentator and a voice for improving India-Pakistan relations. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni is former Director General of Infantry, and Kamar Cheema is an analyst who joins us from Pakistan. And Kamar Cheema, my first question is to you, sir. How bad is the current situation in Pakistan from Gilgit-Baltistan to Balochistan across Sindh, KPK and Pakistan's Punjab province?
Well, I think this is a very unfortunate situation where Pakistan was combating with the traditional security challenges in the country in the last decade, and now we are facing these non-traditional security challenges in terms of floods and unexpected spells of the monsoon. So the situation in the northern areas and particularly the southern areas is bad, as the government doesn't have a proper infrastructure when it comes to the storage of the water. So normally the water goes into the towns, cities, and the people who get in front of the water, the cities and the crops and the major chunk of the grains which is for the society, that all gets washed away. So as the government says that more than 33 million people are affected, but that is not a sufficient data, because the data has come from the National Disaster Management Authority. There is a probability that the number is much bigger than that, because and the government and the political parties, since the House is divided, Imran Khan, who runs Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Punjab, where there are floods, he doesn't have the government in the center, and those who have the government in the center, they don't have the government in the provinces. So the government is not in sync as far as the rehabilitation work is concerned.
Okay.
But the rescue work was done by the police, by the army, and by other institutions. Unfortunately, the political rallies was started in Pakistan. Because of that, the political parties and the politicians didn't pay much attention to the floods earlier, and when they saw massive floods came in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Punjab, they paid attention to that. So we could have avoided much of the situation had the bureaucracy and the politicians have paid attention. But
Stay
this
with
is
me
a
for
very
moment.
serious situation.
Sudhindra Kulkarni, Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed his condolences. He wished Pakistan returns to normalcy as quickly as possible. In your view, is that sufficient response, at least as of now?
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has done what is really required of India by sending a very heartfelt message of condolences and also solidarity to the people of Pakistan in this hour of crisis. If you see the Pakistani social media, Modi ji's message has been very warmly received. There is a term in Hindi, Padosi ka dharm, the dharm or the duty of neighbor. It is the duty of India to come to the aid of Pakistan when the worst floods have been witnessed in Pakistan in known history. We have seen that many countries have rushed to help Pakistan. India and Pakistan are closest neighbors that one can think of. So, Prime Minister Modi should follow up after the message that he has sent by rushing aid in terms of food, medicines and all other relief rehabilitation material to Pakistan.
Okay.
Not just the government of India, even the people should rush. You know, just this morning, I got a call from a doctor in Pune. He said that we have a 10-member team of doctors that want to go to Pakistan. Can we get visa? There are so many such people in civil society in India that want to help Pakistan. A friend in
that is
need,
the goodness of our heart.
Similarly, a nation in need.
I so completely agree with you. But Jalil Kulkarni, if Pakistan wants India's help, should Pakistan not directly ask for it? Should it also not dismantle the India-centric Mil-Jihad complex first?
Absolutely, Gaurav. I couldn't be agreeing more with you right now. First and foremost, I think first, heartfelt condolences. It's a really sad thing to what is happening to Pakistan. There is no denying the fact. And of course, they are our neighbors. But who stopped the trade? Pakistan stopped the trade. We were the ones who gave them the most favored nation status in '96. What they did in Pulwama, it is only after that. So trade and terror can't go together. But notwithstanding what we are talking about right now, Pakistan needs help. And Pakistan must themselves come forward and seek help. You saw the Chief of the Army Staff of Pakistan asking for help, but he should have come up and said, well, can India help us, please? You are our neighbor. Let's open up. If they are in need of vegetable, if they are in need of edible oil, if they are in need of pharmaceuticals, they need help, by all means, yes, why not? You see the Prime Minister for India going all out to say, yes, definitely we would. But no, not wanting to come forward. And let's take as a worst case scenario, we do send an aircraft with trade and they don't receive it and they send it back, or the trade that is delivered and all the help that is delivered, they don't use it. What are they trying to convey? Okay. It has happened in the past. Pakistan is capable of doing that. And therefore, right now, let's not play politics at all. Let Pakistan come forward and say, yes, if the ministers are saying we want help, they should say so.
Unwarranted help breeds contempt. But Kamar Chima, whether help was sought or not, you know, as Sudhindra Kulkarni was so rightly pointing out of the goodness of our heart, we've helped Pakistan in the past. You remember 2005 earthquake, sir. You remember 2010. In fact, if you recall 2010, Kamar Chima, that was 2 years, just 2 years after Pakistan Army and ISI sponsored 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. India gave Pakistan $25 million worth of assistance after floods. Kamar Chima, you realize, you killed 166 of our people. We still gave help, $25 million in 2010. And yet no action against India-centric terror, sir. Am I right to raise that point, please?
Well, sir, the first thing you need to understand is that in the recent floods in the south of India, the Pakistan offered assistance to India, but India refused. One thing. The second thing which is important, listen me, sir. The second thing is that I think at the moment, as General Saab was mentioning, that the 10-member doctors team wanted to come, that is very nice gesture coming from India. But do not mix politics with the humanitarian assistance. Well, what Army Chief General Bajwa said, that the friendly countries, I would say the aid from Australia, from Sri Lanka, from America and other countries will come later. The aid from the support from the humanitarian assistance from India will come faster and on an urgent basis. And I think if it comes, Pakistan must welcome that, because we should keep humanitarian assistance separate from politics and security, and I think that will help open many more avenues. So when India...
Sir, what avenue was opened? Sir, I take your point entirely. I'm just taking you back to, 2010, Sudhindra Kulkarni, 2 years after 26/11 Mumbai terror attack sponsored by Pakistan Army that killed 166 people from a dozen countries in India, India gave Pakistan $25 million US. So help and friendship clearly cannot be a one-way street. अगर हम पड़ोसी का धर्म निभाते हैं, पड़ोसी का धर्म निभाना तो पाकिस्तान का भी कर्तव्य है. वो फिर भी आतंक भेजते हैं, वो आतंक का धर्म निभाते हैं.
आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा. Both countries should discharge their duty as neighbors, and it was very rightly pointed out that aid from India can reach Pakistan the fastest. They simply have to open the land border for our trucks to move in. And if you see how climate crisis has affected our neighbors, right now Pakistan is under severe floods, and another neighbor, China, large parts of China are suffering from extreme heat.
And drought.
This can happen to India also. So therefore, the time has come when all countries of the world should unite to take action against climate crisis, fight the effects of climate change. But right now, when the crisis is right in front of us, we must help the poor and the needy the first. There should be no politics. All other things can wait.
Fair enough. But how is seeking action against Hafiz Saeed politics? How is seeking that Indians are kept safe from Pakistan state-sponsored terror politics? Why should General Kulkarni, Pakistani lives matter more than the poor Indians who were killed at CST? And 69 of them were killed at Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus, massacred by General Qamar Javed Bajwa's army-trained terrorists, armed by Pakistan Army. No, sir, that is not politics. General Kulkarni is keeping Indian lives safe, not the first responsibility of Indian Prime Ministers, whether Dr. Manmohan Singh or Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
See, first and foremost, Gaurav, it's very essential. I think it's an opportunity given to Pakistan. Pakistan must ensure that terrorism is not used by them as an instrument of state policy. There can be nothing better rather than guarding Hafiz Saeed and guarding Masood Azhar and trying to convey that, well, Pakistan is not involved in doing what it is doing in Kashmir and all over. I think it's an opportunity given to Pakistan. Pakistan must step forward and open up the Wagah border and tell India, please help us. We are neighbors, we're willing to do, we'll ensure that no terror will emanate from our soil of Pakistan. I think this is what Pakistan should do right now, rather than not asking for help, but wanting help. I think this kind of a thing, they'll say, is not acceptable, because it is Pakistan that stopped the trade. Nobody has stopped trade. We have $500 million of trade that goes on with Pakistan in terms of pharmaceuticals are concerned. No problems at all. Pakistan must step forward, because with Pakistan, all said and done, it is very essential for that country to first and foremost say, well, trade, yes, terror, no. And that will be a big no.
Qamar Chima, India had made one thing very clear: terror and trade cannot go on simultaneously. But Qamar Chima, is it fair to expect India that terror and aid should happen simultaneously? Pakistani terrorists were killed at the line of control just 2 days ago, sir, on the Pakistani side of, of the LOC, the POK side, sir. So I know you want to help, and I know we should help you, and I know, the Prime Minister, ultimately, Government of India may just help out of the goodness of our heart. But sir, should that, the milk of human kindness that flows from the Indian side cannot be responded to by blood from the Pakistani side, sir?
Well, it seems from the conversation in this panel that India really doesn't want to help, but you want to take the advantage of a situation where Pakistan shall request. In the time of need, always people come forward and they help the brothers and sisters.
Sir,
but what comes from
2005 में भी मदद कर दी, 2010 में तो $25 million दे दिए.
Listen me, what the general was talking as if he wanted to give something in free. This is a humanitarian assistance. If you don't want to give, don't want to give. The General Bajwa has already asked that we don't want assistance from the enemy countries. He spoke friendly countries, but if you want to be friendly at this moment, that is fine. So why the General Kulkarni is talking as if Pakistan should come forward and ask for
बल नहीं गया, रस्सी जल गई, बल नहीं गया.
Pakistan,
मतलब 33 मिलियन लोग मर रहे हैं आपके, लेकिन you know, Sudhindra Kulkarni, there is an old saying, unwanted help breeds contempt. You know, Sudhindra Kulkarni, I want to understand, you're listening to Kamar Cheema, aren't you, sir? Aren't you listening to Kamar Cheema? We gave them $25 million, $25 million 2 years after 26/11.
This is very
Look at their attitude.
Very unfortunate moments I am seeing in this panel, whereas if the general feels he's still a serving 3-star general.
अरे चलो सुधींद्र कुलकर्णी जी को सुनवाओ, वो कमर चीमा का ऑडियो डाउन करो, कमर चीमा का ऑडियो डाउन करो. सुधींद्र कुलकर्णी जी, I want to understand from you, sir. ये unwarranted help breeds contempt. कितनी बार, मतलब आप कितना भी सांप को दूध पिलाएंगे, सांप तो डसेगा, वो अपना धर्म निभा रहा है.
It's not unwanted help, it is help that is most desperately wanted and needed.
ये attitude के साथ.
And if you see, Gaurav, if you see the recent speeches of General Bajwa, the Chief of Army Staff of Pakistan, he has spoken very strongly against terrorism because terrorism is a greater threat to Pakistan.
Sir, आप तो सरकार में थे जब अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी के समय परवेज मुशर्रफ said exactly the same thing. And if we don't learn from history, we are condemned to repeat it. You were there with Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee in 2004 when Musharraf said we will not let Pakistani soil be used for terror against India.
Right now, we are discussing whether India should send help, relief, rehabilitation, material to Pakistan on an urgent war footing or not. And therefore, in this context, if we do something now, it will be very warmly and even gratefully received by the people and the government of Pakistan. Just 2 days ago, there was an Asia Cup match between India and Pakistan.
Sir,
India
warmly received me. Sir, I want to understand. I just want to understand. Warmly received by Pakistan will translate into action against Pakistan's military jihad complex that targets India or not? And should that not be our benchmark? Whether it is Sudhindra Kulkarni or General Kulkarni or Prime Minister Narendra Modi or whoever, हर हिंदुस्तानी का लक्ष्य कि हिंदुस्तानियों की जान सुरक्षित रहे. Pakistan should dismantle India-centric terror infrastructure. Should that not be our baseline?
Pakistan must. And let me tell you, Pakistan will. The question is, we should resume dialogue.
Arey, let them stop terror, we'll resume dialogue. Should we have a dialogue with a gun kept to our head? Dialogue करो वरना हाफिज सईद आपके 166 लोगों को मार देगा. I will let that be. I will leave you with that thought, sir. You know, you've seen the Pakistanis' attitude. We've seen Pakistan's attitude. Kamar Cheema perhaps reflects the mindset. But anyway, they're suffering and all our sympathies with them. And like Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, we wish them all the best. For joining me on this India First special, many thanks. A quick break. Abha Bakaya comes up next with Business Today.